Hi, we are reading Who is Jane Goodall by Roberta Edwards, and we're going to read chapter 5, but there is a small section before the chapter begins. Let's go. How alike are humans, chimps and humans? It may surprise you to know this, but a human being is more like a chimp than a mouse is like a rat. Why are humans and chimps so alike? The reason is that they come from a common ancestor, an ape-like creature who lived on Earth somewhere between 4 and 8 million years ago. Even a quick look at humans and chimps shows many similarities. Human and chimp faces are alike. They show the emotions they feel, like happiness, sadness, and fear. Both humans and chimps have hands with thumbs. What can't be seen is the brain inside the skull of a chimp or a human. Both have a large brain for their body size. That's what makes them smart animals. The DNA of humans and chimps is almost exactly the same. DNA determines the makeup of an animal. There's just a little more than 1% difference between the two species. Yet that little difference counts for a lot. It accounts for why chimps don't understand how to grow food and why they are unable to speak or make art or music. And although chimps do make simple tools, they can't make machines or think the same kind of hard, deep thoughts as humans. And here is an odd fact. Unlike humans, chimps do not cry tears. Chapter 5, Hugo arrives. National Geographic magazine wanted the world to know about Jane Goodall and the Chimps of Gombe. The magazine hoped to publish an article as soon as possible, an article with photographs. In August 1963, Jane's first article appeared in the magazine. It was called My Life Among Wild Chimpanzees. Jane could not take the photographs for the magazine herself. It was hard enough following the chimps around with binoculars and taking notes. But she also was not eager for a photographer to come join her. Why? She was afraid that it would disrupt her work. The chimps were finally allowing her in their midst. She was able to get much closer to them. They were sometimes only yards away. In time, David Graybeard began coming to the camp to visit. He'd take handfuls of bananas from Jane. Soon other chimps came too. If a stranger suddenly appeared on the scene, the chimps were sure to be fearful and hide from Jane again. All the trust she had built would be destroyed. Jane's suggestion was for her sister Judy to join her in Gombe. Judy would take the photos. Jane and Judy looked a lot alike. Jane figured that the chimps might accept her sister. Having Judy's company was very welcome. The two sisters would go off together into the forest. Jane continued watching the chimps while Judy took photos. The trouble was, Judy's photos weren't good enough for magazines. Once again, Louis Leakey found a way to help Jane. He arranged for a young photographer who worked for National Geographic to go to Gombe. His name was Hugo van Lawick. Hugo was interested in everything about the chimps, and Jane was wrong about how the chimps would react to him. They didn't mind having him around. He was able to catch chimps patrolling their home range. He took pictures of two chimps in a fight to become the group leader. His photos were wonderful. In 1965, National Geographic ran an article about Jane and the chimps. It was the first of many. Louis Leakey was very happy that such a famous magazine recognized the importance of Jane's work. However, Louis also wanted the scientific world to accept Jane as an expert on chimpanzees. The fact that Jane didn't have a college degree worked against her, so Louis Leakey helped get Jane admitted to Cambridge University in England. Cambridge is one of the finest universities in the world. Even though she had never gone to college, Jane was allowed to study for an advanced degree. Cambridge decided that her work with the chimps counted as a college degree. Of course, studying at Cambridge meant being gone for part of the year from Africa. Every day away was hard for Jane, but by 1965, Jane completed all the work for her doctorate. She was now Dr. Jane Goodall. Hugo van Lawick. Hugo van Lawick was born in Indonesia on April 10, 1937. His family were Dutch aristocrats. Hugo was a baron. Like Jane, Hugo was fascinated by the animal world from the time he was a child. He too wanted to live among wild creatures in order to learn about them. Jane took notes on everything she saw. Hugo, however, recorded everything through photographs and film. In 1959, he traveled to Kenya to work for a Dutch film company. By 1962, he was covering Eastern Africa for the National Geographic Society. The Society's magazine sent him to Gombe. He was to photograph the group of chimps that Jane Goodall was studying. Hugo stayed on in Tanzania, continuing his life's work. Besides chimpanzees, he became interested in other creatures of the area: golden jackals, hyenas, and leopards. He won many prizes, including 8 Emmys for television shows. Hugo van Lowick lived in Africa for more than 40 years. 30 of them he spent living in a tent. He died in 2002 and was buried in Tanzania, the land he loved so much.